Hey y'all, it's Caitlin. So for this video, I want to talk about Wonder Woman characters that I want pops made of. I got two lists here. One of them is characters. The other one is variants of Wonder Woman. Now I didn't think about it until I sat down to film this. I was gonna film both videos, but I might just film this one, and do the other one for a random live stream. You know, where we just I do a live stream and then I just talk about the variants I want of Wonder Woman. Leave a comment if y'all would be interested in that. It would be like my other live streams. It would be like on a Saturday or something, so let me know. I'm filming this one. I'm pretty sure Nerd Crew is going live tonight, so I gotta get this one finished. But I think I still got like another hour or so. But anyway, but really, put that down below because I think that would be fun. I've never seen anyone else do a live stream with like a Funko Wants kind of thing, so it'd be kind of cool. But I want to go ahead and do the character one because I just like talking about this stuff. So, okay, so this list is in no particular order. I just wrote them down in the order that I thought of them. So we're just gonna go in that order. Okay, so the first two rather, these came to my head right away. Oh, by the way, the only rule I'm putting in place here is that if they already have a pop, I'm not going to say it again. So even though there are definitely some variants of Hippolyta that I would love to see, I'm not going to put her in here because obviously we already have a pop of her. And by the way, her aunt's name is Antiope, not Antiope, okay? Usually I'm not that kind of person that corrects people when they say a name wrong, especially when it's hard as hers to know what it is. But after you hear different people say it completely wrong for so long, you just kind of have to say it. So anyway, I just had to. So anyway, so the first two, I don't understand why we don't have pops of them yet. Because we have Supergirl and Superboy. We have Nightwing and Robin, so why don't we have either of the Wonder Girls? So there's Donna Troy. Donna Troy was the first Wonder Girl, and she's kind of like Diana's magical clone, in a way. So the story with Donna, when Diana was a kid growing up on the Themyscira or Paradise Island, whichever way you want to call it, she was the only kid. She wanted a friend. She wanted a friend her own age to play with. So a sorceress on the island made a spell and made an exact copy of Diana that she was at that age. And that became Diana's best friend. Well, eventually, I don't think it was too long after Donna, they didn't name the double, I don't believe. She didn't get the name Donna until later. But, we learned that one of Hippolyta's enemies came to the Themyscira targeting Diana, and she accidentally grabbed Donna instead. So Hippolyta wakes up in the middle of the night with this premonition that something tragic has happened to her daughter. Or no, I think she was actually in the bath when she got this premonition. So for like 3 days, Diana does not leave her sight at all. After the 3 days, Diana goes to the sorceress and said, did something happen to the other one? So when Hippolyta got this idea that something happened to her daughter, they both figured it was the double. And they figured that the spell just wore off. That Donna just sort of disappeared back into the magic that she was made from, I guess. And neither of them thought too much about it. Years later, Diana meets Donna Troy. And they find out that for years, Donna has been trapped in this cyclone of life. She keeps this enemy of Hippolyta, I can't remember who it was, maybe Circe, kept putting Donna in these life situations where it would end tragically. She thought that would be the worst punishment for Hippolyta, for her daughter to be eternally punished. So, for like example, in the current one, she meets a man, falls completely in love with him, completely in love with his daughter, the two of them have another child together, a son, and they eventually do break up, they get a divorce, but then she finds out that her ex-husband, her ex-stepdaughter, who she still loved, and her baby son was actually killed in a car accident. So it's stuff like that, all that tragedy just keeps going up and over and over and over again, until finally Diana figures out what's going on, figure out who Donna is, and breaks the spell. So, but you know, in between all this and that life where she had the husband and the baby, you know, she met the Teen Titans, became Wonder Girl, and eventually just became like a sister to Diana and a daughter to Hippolyta. So I think she is a very prominent character. She shows up, you know, so many times throughout the series, or the comic series, and she's been in some of the TV shows and cartoons. So, well, not the TV shows. They had Drusilla, not Donna, in the Linda Carter show. But I don't understand why we don't have Donna. And for that matter, I still don't understand why we don't have Cassie Sandsmark. Cassie Sandsmark was the second Wonder Girl. Her story is she's actually a demigod. She's the daughter of Zeus long before Diana was the daughter of Zeus. And her mom is a curator at a museum who wants nothing to do with her daughter being a Wonder Girl or being Wonder Girl. She's just, you know, Cassie is this teenage kid who wants to be a hero. It's your classic Teen Titan kind of story, right? You know, she desperately wants to be a hero. Zeus gives her the powers to be a hero. Her mom is not happy about that. But you know, Cassie has been in Young Justice. She's been showing up so many times throughout the years in the Wonder Woman comic books. Now, Donna has appeared in New 52. I don't believe she's been in Rebirth yet, the current series of Wonder Woman. Cassie hasn't been in 52 or Rebirth, so I don't know if we're gonna get to see Cassie again. I haven't read Teen Titans, so she might have shown up there. I honestly have no idea, but I hope so. I don't know, but I would really love to see either of the Wonder Girls be made into Funko Pops. The next one, again, we have the Joker, we have Lex Luthor. Why don't we have Cheetah? Cheetah is probably the most prominent Wonder Woman villain. You know, her name is Barbara Minerva, and she is cursed. There's actually a couple different variations of her story, but I'm gonna go with the one I know the best. She's cursed when she was a young kid. Her mom was an archaeologist, and she got into some ancient relics that she wasn't supposed to, and became cursed with the powers of the cheetah. And the cheetah turns her into a cheetah, into an animal. From a human, into someone who has to pretty much feast on human flesh in order to survive, and she hates it. She honestly does. There are some variations where she actually embraces it, some of them not so much. This newest edition actually made her, or newer edition, did make her hate being Cheetah, and she was actually in love with Wonder Woman, or one of Wonder Woman's best friends, Etta Candy. So I would love to see Cheetah be made, any kind of variation of Cheetah. She's had a couple different looks throughout the years. A bombshell version of her would be awesome, but that's a completely different story, background story. But they could make, you know, old school looking Cheetah, modern day looking Cheetah, Cheetah flocked. A flock Cheetah would be awesome. Flock Cheetah would be incredible. I would love to have a flock Cheetah. I didn't think about that till just now, but a flock Cheetah would rock. Another of Diana's villains that I feel needs to be made is Giganta. So Giganta's thing, she was, again, completely different background stories depending on where you're reading it. But she was a scientist who did work on gorillas. There were one variation where she actually was born a gorilla. And she was trying to, I'm trying to remember exactly how they worded it in that comic book. I remember reading the comics where they explained her origin. By her name is Doris something, I can't remember, but her first name is Doris. But she's experimenting on gorillas to try to expand her own lifespan. And what she does instead is give herself powers to grow. So obviously for Giganta, again, there's been several different looks for Giganta. Any of them would work, honestly. I would prefer either the Justice League look for Giganta, because that was the first Giganta I was introduced to, or the Gail Simone one where she was actually dating the Atom. I say Gail Simone because that was the comic series of Wonder Woman that I remember reading, where Gail was the one writing it. But there was a story arc where she was dating one of the Atoms. So that'd be kind of, but it would be cool to see her, but they would have to make it either a 6-inch or even a 10-inch. I'm not the biggest fan of 10 inches, but if they made Giganta, I'd get a 10-inch pop. I'd get another 10-inch pop for sure. I mean, I couldn't pass that up. I would never be able to pass that up. So this next one is one that I know sure as heck is never going to be made. But it's Nemesis, aka Thomas Tresher. Now I talked about this character a little bit, I think it was during my Inspiration Challenge video. And this was the boyfriend that Diana had, pretty much in order to just take advantage of him. And we get to learn so much about this character through this comic series with Wonder Woman. And you just never really hear from him ever again. I don't recall seeing him in anything else other than that. He was a shapeshifter. He was a bit of a playboy kind of thing, I want to say. Womanizer kind of. But he changed for Diana, but she just never really loved him at all. She just wanted to get a kid out of him. So this story arc, when you read it, it's really powerful to find out just how flawed Diana really is. And Thomas Tresher was a huge part of revealing those flaws. And that's a story, that's a comic series that will never leave my head. I know it. So it'll be really cool. It would be really cool to see him as a pop and get more acknowledgement, I want to say. Now this other one, I feel like there might be a chance of getting one of her. And also, I've never heard this name spoken. So I'm just gonna say it the way I do. Alkyon, something like that. Alkyone. I'm pretty sure when I was reading the comics I pronounced it Alcone, but I don't know. I don't know. So basically, this was the star of a story arc called The Circle. Now, a few years ago, Diana had her 75th anniversary, and DC released a pack of trade issues, graphic novels, of some of the best Wonder Woman stories in history. And The Circle was one of them, and The Circle starred Alkyon. So basically, and this was also written by Gail Simone, who, by the way, is my favorite comic writer, if you can't guess by now. But it's centered around this idea of what if there were Amazons who didn't like Diana. In all the ones you see, Diana is their princess, Diana is their champion of the Amazons. The Amazons watched her grow up. They're like secondary mothers to her. They all love Diana. But what if there was a group of them that hated Diana? And Alkyon is the leader of this group. There's 4 of them. I can't remember the other ones' names. But basically what happens is we get to see a flashback of the original story before Diana was born. But basically, some of the women would whittle little babies out of wood. Because, there's no men on the island. They can't reproduce with each other. So they pretty much make these wooden dolls in order to pretend like they're moms. Kind of like in a therapeutic kind of technique. And there were some that kind of went a little too far. There was Amazons who started believing that the babies were real and kind of lost their mind, lost their sanity due to it, that belief. So when you started thinking, or they started thinking, Alcon and her friends started thinking, what would happen if there was an actual baby on the island? They thought some of the women would become jealous of whoever mothered this baby. They didn't start thinking about this until after the rumors with Hippolyta started, obviously. But they felt that some of the other women, the other Amazons, would become jealous and try to hurt Queen Hippolyta or the baby, mainly Hippolyta, due to their jealousy. And you know how sometimes you hear like things about people, well, I think they would do this in the situation, but rarely what they're saying is, I think I would do that in this situation. They were the ones that were jealous. So basically what happens is Hippolyta knows from her connection with the gods, I guess, that she's about to have a baby. She's about to be blessed with a child. So she assigns 4 Amazons to be her personal guard. This is the first time this has happened in centuries on the island. Hippolyta's never wanted a personal guard before. But she chooses these 4 because these 4, they don't have any other lovers. They don't have any close friends. They're just kind of all loners. And because of that, they look at Hippolyta like she's everything to them. You know, when you don't have any really close bonds with anyone, you make a close bond with the person who you're supposed to admire the most, and that way it's in this situation, it's their queen. So they care more for Hippolyta than they do their own lives. Okay? They love Hippolyta, they are willing to lay down their lives for her, and when they find out that Diana has been born, they kind of go crazy. And instead of protecting Hippolyta and therefore, you know, her new baby, that's why Hippolyta wanted it, because she wanted guards for her new child. What they ended up doing was trying to assassinate Diana the night that she was born. Obviously, they weren't very successful. They all got locked up. Diana never hears about these girls until years later, until they escape their prison. But the whole story surrounding them and where they end up, where I'm not going to tell you guys that part, you have to read the story. But just the whole concept of it, I think, is awesome. And I think it was in a couple story arcs over after the circle that we actually see Alclone wearing Diana's tiara upside down. I'm not going, again, not telling you guys the story behind that part, but she's wearing Diana's tiara upside down. So if we got a pop of her with that upside down crown, that would be awesome. That would just be awesome to me. I would love it. I brought water in here because I knew I'd be talking a lot. Okay, so this next one. So, if y'all watched my DC comic haul where I talked about a couple of the Batman pops, the Joker Who's Laughed, I told you that there was a character I wanted that had eyes like that Batman did with the spikes. That character's name is Genocide. So Genocide is a villain. And the reason I say name, that's what she told people when they asked her name. But to clarify, she said, that's not my name, it's what I do. This being, this creature, laid waste to everything she saw. When she was first created, she would kill people in cold blood. And I'm not talking about like serial killer, like they planned it out. I mean, she went to a mall, destroyed the mall and everyone in it, and killed them all in one go, pretty much. And after she gets going, she actually has Diana at a point where Diana is on her knees begging her not to kill this innocent woman, and she ends up killing her in front of Diana's eyes. She ends up kidnapping Diana's best friend, Etta Candy, and torturing her, because after a few days of living, she realizes that there's more pleasure in torturing someone than just simply killing them. So she actually ends up stealing Diana's lasso, and the doctors that created her, she has them wove the lasso around her bones. Pretty much the lasso becoming a part of her, tainting the lasso, and the lasso is never the same after that. It does really bad things to people. Genocide uses it to make Diana confess to Thomas Treasure that she doesn't love him. She never loved him. That's how Thomas finds out about it. Nemesis finds out about it. Genocide uses her powers to turn Donna against Diana, making Donna think that Diana was responsible for the death of her ex-husband and her children. This girl was just a lot of bad news. But almost the worst part for Diana was when she found out that genocide was made from a corpse from the future. And this corpse, the doctor who did it, I'm not going to say which doctor, the doctors that did it said that the corpse glowed with power. That's how powerful this being was when it was still alive, when she was still alive. And Diana finds out it's her corpse. So, needless to say, that doesn't exactly help Diana's mindset at that point. So, a lot of crazy crap happens in this story arc. I would highly recommend it. There are definitely some things there that you probably wouldn't know without, reading a few story arcs before that happened. But even as a standalone, I can't remember the exact name of this story arc. If I find it, I'll put it here. But this one and The Circle are the two that I would always recommend the most. Always recommend the most. Genocide was such a powerful character. And even though, she's not a reoccurring character, she didn't last long. But, yeah, it's very powerful when you read it. Very powerful. The next one is another one that I don't understand why we don't have a pop of her yet. Just because she's so popular. And that is Artemis. Now, Artemis wasn't in the movie, which I was really hoping she would be, but she wasn't. So basically, when the Themyscira first, or right before the Themyscira first was founded, the Amazons were attacked. Hercules challenged Hippolyta to a duel. Hippolyta wins. She welcomes Hercules and her men into their little tribe. Now, the Themyscira isn't there yet. They're just traveling. Think like Xena Warrior Princess. They're just a group of women traveling. Instead of just two, it's a group of women traveling. The Amazons are. But Hercules, he and his men act like they're good sports about it at first, but really they're not. When the Amazons least suspect it, they attack and capture, rape, and kill a lot of the Amazons. After the Amazons once the Amazons, I'm trying to think, rebel back against them. I'm trying to think of proper words for this and tell the story at the same time. But once the Amazons finally get the upper hand on Hercules, they win. They, get their freedom back, but they kind of split into two groups. One, Hippolyta's group that still trusts in the gods. They believe that the gods had a reason for putting them through this. And the other side that thinks the gods abandoned them. And so that's when they split. And by the way, in the comics, the other side is led by Antiope. But, so one of the Amazons that come from this second tribe of Amazons is Artemis. And they're a little bit more, I don't want to say powerful, I want to say they're a little bit more rugged. They don't exactly all about peace and anything. They're about pushing any man out of the way to get what they feel they deserve. So Artemis is a lot more rugged. I wouldn't say that there was ever a point where she was ever a true enemy of Wonder Woman, they never really saw eye to eye in the comics a lot of the time, especially, and even today in the comics. Honestly, there were definitely some comics where they were more allied than not. And then in the 2009 animated movie Wonder Woman, they were friends in that movie. But for the most part, they're more like rivals. And Artemis is very prominent. She pops up a lot. She's been killed. She's been brought back. She was recently a star in the Red Hood and the Outlaws comic books. So getting any variant of her in any of her forms, any of her outfits rather, would be really cool, would be really awesome. And I think just about every Wonder Woman fan would know who this character is. So, very prominent. Okay, so these next two, I put them together because they have something very big in common. They're Diana's twins. So years ago, I think it was in the 70s. In the 70s, they wrote a story. Now, during the Civil Rights Movement, Marvel was far ahead of DC when it came to incorporating black characters. But DC was catching up, thankfully, finally. That's one thing I'll say Marvel has definitely above DC. They got into these kind of things a lot sooner than DC, than I wish DC had. But one of the ways they finally started incorporating more black characters was with a character called Nubia. Nubia. Pronounce it any way you want. But basically there was a story of when Hippolytus sculpted Diana from clay, she actually ended up sculpting two daughters from clay. One with light skin, Diana, and one with dark skin, Nubia. I forget how, but someone kidnaps Nubia when she was still a baby. It's kind of like the Donna Troy situation again a little bit. But I think she's actually raised by Mars. Yeah, she's raised by Mars, god of war. So she's definitely she's more rugged than Artemis is. When she first sees Diana, she declares her an enemy. And she actually lives in an island, I believe, where it was populated solely by men. Nubia was the only woman, and she was the ruler. She grew up to be the ruler of this island. So at first they're very much the enemy. Because Nubia sees Diana as kind of an intruder when she comes to the island. It's been years since I've read this story, guys, so forgive me. If you guys go back and look, forgive me if I get any of this wrong. But, so they never really see eye to eye, definitely not as sisters. She was actually put into the Supergirl comics for a little while, I think, for a couple of story arcs. And then more recently, she was in Scooby-Doo Team Up. If no one knows, the people who own Scooby-Doo comic books are DC. DC publishes Scooby-Doo comic books. So they have the Scooby-Doo Team Ups where Scooby-Doo and the gang team up with, random DC characters, and they made a two-parter with Wonder Woman where Nubia was a member of the Amazons. So they do bring her back occasionally. Not too much. She's not a prominent character anymore. But she was really the first, or at least one of the first, African-American characters in DC. Yeah, I would love to see Nubia. Honestly, I was just so excited to see her in the Scooby-Doo one. I would like to see her in that variant. But it'd probably be in her older school style variant. I do believe they finally did come on good terms. I would never say that they were friends or sisters like they were supposed to be. But it was a good story, it was a good character, and I wish they would bring her back. That's what I'm gonna say. Instead of bringing her back, what they did recently, very recently in the comic books, they made a character called Jason. So, when New 52 happened a few years ago, they made Diana the daughter of Zeus. And recently they realized that Hippolyta actually had twins by Zeus, a boy and a girl. The girl is obviously Diana, the boy was Jason. So Jason is raised by this fisherman. They're on the Mascara, they can't have men. In fact, in the New 52, there's this whole drawn out story that paints the Amazons in a horrible light when it comes to their sons. So I'm not gonna go there because it ticks me off. But Jason is raised by a fisherman who kind of teaches him how to control his powers. He is mentored by Hercules in this variant, not the same. This is a whole different story arc, so not the same, technically the same character that, you know, hurt his mom and everyone, but yeah, story arcs changes a lot. Basically, Jason finds out that his sister is Wonder Woman, and he kind of teeters back and forth about whether to be her ally or not. And he actually gains a power that was meant for Diana, a very strong power that was meant for Diana. And if you guys watch Supergirl, he's a little bit like Mon-El, in the sense where he didn't really know how to be a hero. And no matter how much Diana tried to teach him, at first he just didn't get it. And then when he finally gets it, he really gets it. I'm not going to share too much about it because that's one that I would say if you guys were interested in, you could pick up the comics pretty easily and start reading them. I will say his character, I liked it. I didn't like his character at first, but I ended up really liking his character. And I think a lot of it involves the people around him. He finally meets Hippolyta, albeit very briefly, and it definitely changes his perspective on things. Yeah, he's one of those classic cases where you see how different your life can change, how quickly your life can change. And I like Jason for that aspect. So either him or Nubia would be really cool to see in pop form. Okay, this next one, I don't know why this character took so long to come to my head, because I love her, and that's Philippus. So Philippus is usually depicted as Hippolyta's right-hand woman, a general in her army, in some cases, even her lover. So, in fact, I always go back to Gail Simone. In Gail Simone's version of Wonder Woman, or issues of Wonder Woman, she actually had it written into the script where Philippus would propose to Hippolyta, but the editors made her take it out. Yeah, I'm still pissed about that. But anyway, but Philippus is a very prominent character, especially in the recent comics. Anytime Hippolyta is shown, Philippus is almost always right there by her side. I don't remember her. You see her in Justice League animated and Unlimited, but they never say this is Philippus. But if you read the comics, you know who it is. And I don't believe she was in the 2009 movie either. But in the comics, you can just see how close Hippolyta and Philippus are. And that might lead you to think that she and Diana were very close when Diana was growing up. So, again, she's one of those characters that if they ended up making a pop of her, Wonder Woman fans would know instantly who it is. It doesn't matter if you're, I wouldn't say, if you've got into Wonder Woman in, say, the past year, I would think that you would know at least a little bit about this character. Anyone who's read Wonder Woman comics for a pretty good period of time would know this character and love this character. So I definitely would love to see a pop of her. So these next two are grouped together. Julia and Vanessa Kapatelis. It's Greek. Kapatelis. No, I did not have to Google that at all. But anyway, so in Wonder Woman Volume 2, which a lot of people say is the best version of Wonder Woman, it was written by George Perez. In an interview recently I saw where George Perez actually met the granddaughter of William Moulton Marston, the man who created Diana, created Wonder Woman, and his granddaughter told him that he honored her grandfather's character by the way he wrote Diana. And two of the characters that he created for this was Julia and Vanessa. They were a mother or daughter who pretty much took Diana in when she comes to the world of man. Teaches her the culture, pretty much becomes her family. Julia becomes her second mom. Vanessa becomes like a little sister to her. And for a long time throughout the comics, they are a very prominent fixture in these comics. They didn't just last a story arc. They lasted years. Vanessa, I'm not going to say too much, but they end up making either of them. They'll probably make Vanessa as Silver Swan. She kind of sees some hard times and actually becomes a villain somewhere down the line. If you read the newer comic books of Wonder Woman and you've read the new Silver Swan, go read the other. Please go back and read the older versions of these characters, because I promise you it's way more interesting than what they just did like a year ago with the character. I'm still mad about that, but anyway, they made Vanessa into a total I don't even want to go there, but Vanessa in the end is still Vanessa. Still loves Diana, still sees Diana as a valued friend and a valued family member. But these two, again, were just so prominent that I would love to see them as Pops. I don't know if they would sell. I imagine if they made Silver Swan, it would. But I don't know if Julia would, because a lot of the more current readers of Wonder Woman don't really know this character as much as the older ones do. But they're still characters that I would personally love to see. So that is my super long list of Wonder Woman characters. I hope you guys got some enjoyment out of this. I know it's a long video. Honestly, I hope you get inspired to read some Wonder Woman comics. That's my goal for this thing. But again, let me know if you guys would be interested in having a live stream. Have a live stream where we talk Wonder Woman. I think it'd be cool. So, anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. Put your opinions in the comment section below about the live stream and about my list. And if you have any characters of Wonder Woman that you would love to see as Pop. So, anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. Remember, it's a community and not a competition. I'll see y'all later. Bye.